working. And once I get we're all clear, then I'll formally introduce myself and you, and we can start the proceeding.
All right. Sounds good. So how's been business for you guys with all this, as far as getting, supplies and all that kind of stuff?
Parts have been very challenging, because different suppliers are working different schedules or modified. But overall, we're growing and we've been doing well. So we're pretty happy about that. And, we kind of work in a bubble anyway. So that works out just fine, has been working out fine for us. So
yeah.
The big difference for us is that we haven't gone to shows. Like every show has been canceled pretty much this year. So are we
You are
on yet, or we're not
on
sure?
Facebook and on.
Okay, so we're good to go now. Okay.
Everything seems to be working fine.
Okay, good. Hi, I'm Tira Mitchell from engraver.com. And today I have with me Jake Wosinski from Greensboro, North Carolina. And he has a jewelry store there called Jacob Raymond Custom Jewelry. And hi, Jake, how are you?
I'm good, Tara. How about you?
Pretty good.
Well, that's good.
Jake and I met a couple times actually at Scott's Engraving in Tennessee. Otherwise, our paths had not crossed. But he does some really wonderful jewelry, and I thought he would be interesting to talk about his jewelry and style. So Jake, I have a couple of questions for you, and then we'll see where the rest of the conversation goes.
All right.
Now you work alone or with other people?
It's just basically me here. My wife comes in roughly like 2 days a week, and helps out with the books and does stuff like that. But pretty much I'm at the bench by myself. When I first opened, my dad, who is retired, kind of had piddled with making jewelry. He was coming in every day, and I'd kind of tell him like, oh, make this, and it was all simple, more just kind of hand fabricated silver pieces of jewelry. And just so I could put something in the case and, say that it was made here kind of thing. So, and as I got the cases full, he just kind of worked less and less time. So right now he comes in 1 day a week and makes some of the silver jewelry. So, because everything in the store here is all made here. We don't buy and sell other people's jewelry. But that was not my plan originally. My plan was, sell my own stuff, have other artists work in here, but everybody who came in here only bought my stuff. And so I'm like, well, I kind of felt bad. I have these other artists working here and none of it's selling. So, it was just all on consignment. So I sent it all back and, just been doing my own stuff for most of the time now.
Now, I read on your website that you started making jewelry very young, and you mentioned that your dad is also a jeweler. And was your grandfather also?
Well, my grandfather his name was Raymond, so that's why I named the company Jacob Raymond, because my birth name is Jacob, but everybody just has always called me Jake. So I named it Jacob Raymond in honor of him as well. My dad did not do it for a living, but he just, like I said, just kind of piddled with it over the years. So, I kind of grew up around my grandfather's shop, but I moved away when I was 16. So I didn't really get to actually learn anything from him. But I have all his tools, and I still use them, not all of them, but like that's my ring stick. That was my grandfather's. And he actually got this ring stick from George Boudet, who owned a store in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And my grandfather moved from Milwaukee to Southern California. See, that was like in the 50s. So that ring stick was from before the 50s. So, that kind of stuff really just means a lot to me to have, this type of tools that have that type of history behind it.
That's really cool. I have some of my grandfather's tools, but they're more hand tools. He was never a jeweler or an engraver or anything. And even those, yeah, there's a connection with them. So that's really, really cool that you have some of his or all of his tools.
Yeah, some of them are, he was one of the guys that just made like everything. Like I have a ring stick that he actually made. I don't use it because I can't read the numbers. They're so poorly put on there. It's just like I'm spending, a minute just to find the stupid number. So I don't even use that one. I just use this one. So.
Okay. And how did you get started in jewelry? Obviously you were around the bench and stuff. Did you go to school or classes? How did you get to this part of your career?
Well, so I started making like beaded necklaces and, stuff like that as a teenager. But then I found out about the Gemological Institute of America from a friend who he was just waiting tables, on the weekends, but he was a gemologist. So I was like, I've always loved gems. That sounds awesome. So that was my first, thing was to actually start studying to be a gemologist first before I ever made any jewelry. And I took a stone cutting class at the local community college. And to me, like faceting was not creative enough for me. It was basically, put your stone on there, grind it down until it hits this number, turn it to that number, and then grind it till it hits that number. And I was like, this is not that exciting for me. So, but in that class, I found about the Sawtooth Center, which is a local art center. So I took a jewelry making class there because they offered that. And I took that class and I was like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. So I sold my motorcycle. I bought my own set of tools and just was making it in my parents' garage. I was, 21, I guess, at the time when I took that class. Maybe I was 20. Anyways, so I took that class and for 2 years tried to get a job. Nobody would hire me. And I finally went to a jewelry store and said, let me just work for you for free and, learn how to make jewelry. And so I did that for about 4 or 5 months, but that owner was a little nuts. So I left there, tried to get a job, and nobody would hire me. So I finally went down to Atlanta to the Atlanta Jewelers Institute and graduated from that. And went down there in 94 and graduated in 95 and got my first job like February of 95. And been doing it ever since, just went to working at different jewelry stores from 95 till 2017 till I opened up my own shop here.
It must feel good to finally have your own place.
Yeah. And that was the plan all along to, have my own business. And there was different kind of goals there, from having my own store to creating like a wholesale line and selling to other places. But it just never worked out, and just said, you know what, I got, 3 small kids at home. I won't try and do that yet. I want to be around for my kids, kind of stuff. So, and, the way I got the store here was totally, what I call God's providence, because we wanted to get back to Greensboro. We weren't actually in Greensboro. And I told my friend, who was a tattoo artist here, and said, I want to get back to Greensboro. And he said, well, there's a jewelry store 2 doors down. I think they want to get out of their lease. And so he put me in contact with the landlord, and, basically I talked to them, was able to take over their space. I bought their cases, their safe, all the lighting, everything was done already. And I worked my last day at my job, which was in Chapel Hill. It's about an hour away from Chapel Hill to Greensboro, on a Friday. And I was open for business that very next day on a Saturday. So, I mean, you don't get much better than that. So,
wow. Well, very, very cool. Now, do you mostly work, and I know COVID is kind of a little different now, but are you mostly working at the store, or do you also work at home? Because a lot of
No,
people have benches at home.
yeah, no, I brought all my tools to the shop here, and I work everything here at the shop. So, I only live a couple miles away, so it's not that big of a deal to hop in the car and drive, 5 minutes to the store. And if I need to, work late or go home, have dinner, come back and work some more, I'll do that. It's not a big deal.
It's nice then, because you can actually leave work when you leave work.
Yeah, although my brain is always constantly thinking about work. So my wife always kind of is like, hey, can I'm here. Can you talk to me? Can you, just because my brain is just constantly going for, mostly it's just about designs, because I have so many designs and I get an idea and I'm like writing it down and just constantly thinking about designing jewelry nonstop. So.
Okay, actually, Jake sent a whole bunch of pictures of his work, and we'll step through some of the pictures, because you talked about design, and you also sent some of your designs. So I tried.
That's me and my dog.
Ruby, and she has a special tag. Yes.
Yeah, her dog tag has a big, fake ruby in it, and then it is hand engraved with her name on there as well. So
very nice. Now, is she usually in the office with you there?
Lately she has not been as much, just because the kids have been home, and when they're all home, they want her there. So when they were actually going off to school, she came a lot more. So if they ever get back going to school, then she'll probably come to the store more often. So, and she's been a great shop dog. I mean, won't even bark at, doesn't bark at people coming in, just couldn't ask for a better shop dog.
Okay, cool. I used to have a shop dog. Unfortunately, he's passed on, but. All right, so this is, you described this to me as Art Deco, correct?
Yes.
But I see it kind of architectural, and this is one of the, you sent 3 or 4 pictures that are all seemingly very architectural in how they're put together. And I'm fascinated by how you've put these elements together in the engraving. What is this one made out of?
This is 14 karat rose gold.
Okay.
So,
and
go ahead.
Well, when you, it's kind of hard to tell, because I don't have the whole ring. Is it in 4 sections, 6 sections?
It was actually 3 different sections. So in the kind of the center there is what I call my baguette engraving. It's basically faceting the metal to actually look like it's a baguette. And then the kind of parallel lines to it, and then kind of the architectural part is after that, with the arches and just kind of mixing. I mean, that's what I like to do, is mix a bunch of different textures. So you can see I got bright cut there, I got the mill graining, and then I do that kind of part that kind of comes up and kind of arches out to the ends is kind of sculpted. So I cut that away and then hammer it all, and it's textured, and it just gives it a very unique look to it, because there's so many different textures going on there.
Okay, and then the next picture is a similar, I call it architectural style. Well, no, this is the same.
Yeah, that's the same ring, just doesn't look as rose gold in that one.
Okay, and then this one I was pretty fascinated with on Instagram. Now, I thought when I saw it that you made the ring to look like these windows, but that was after the fact. You found the windows, right? Yep,
that is correct. So, once again, like with you talking about the architectural theme, this ring here I made before that rose gold one. So you can kind of see the similarities there with, you know, this kind of band in the center and the engraved lines, and then this other kind of architectural type stuff. So when I designed that one, I was thinking, you know, stained glass, architectural, you know, and it does have a, you know, this kind of Art Deco feel to it as well. And, you know, this ring was actually a man's ring with a 2-carat yellow diamond in it. And it was a size, I think, 11 and a half. So it was a big chunk of gold. And originally we were going to do it all in yellow, which I didn't want to do, but that's what the customer wanted. And so, but when I put that yellow diamond in there with the yellow gold on either side of it, the yellow diamond just disappeared. It was just all yellow. And I told him, like, look, we gotta put some platinum in there, because otherwise that yellow diamond is just going to get lost in a sea of yellow. So he agreed to that and put the yellow in there. So, you know, when I made the ring, where the platinum was just flat. And so I had to go in and dig all that out, scoop all that metal out, and inlay the platinum in it. So which with that ring, I actually engraved the whole platinum piece before I actually ever put it in the ring itself.
So you kind of set that platinum piece almost like you would bezel set a stone?
I thought of doing it that way, but after kind of figuring out, okay, how do I get this in here? And I've done it that way before. What I ended up doing was actually drilling holes in the ring itself, where the platinum piece was going, a bunch, like probably 3 holes. And so then I just shoved it in there and then flipped the ring over and actually lasered those holes and filled those laser holes in from the underside. So you don't even know that it was done that way. So because I've already, you know, I didn't want to add solder to it, didn't want to do that, and I didn't want to set it like a stone would. So, but when I shoved that thing in there, it was a tight fit. There's nothing sitting above the surface for anything to catch on. So there, I mean, that platinum isn't going anyway. It's in there for life.
Very cool. Okay, let's see what the next one is. And can you zoom in on this one? And this one you call what? The Cathedral Ring.
Yeah, it kind of like this ring I actually designed before the other ones. So the whole idea of cathedral style stained glass was, you know, you can just kind of see the progression here of, you know, coming up with an idea, a design concept, and you do something with it. And then, okay, I like that theme. I like what I'm doing here. How can I translate that into a man's ring? How can I translate that into just a plain, you know, wedding band with engraving? So it's just constantly evolving and trying to do something different. And this ring, I actually probably was a year from start to finish that it took me to get it done, because I carved the wax for a green sapphire and I cast it and put the stone in there, and this green sapphire just went totally dark. Like, it was just horrible. And so I'm like, all right, I can't do that. So, and I'm like, all right, I got to try and find another sapphire, because I've already made the ring. It's for this size sapphire. So now I got to find another sapphire that would work in that. So I ended up getting this blue sapphire, and that one just was not, had some inclusions and stuff. And I was like, this is too nice of a ring to put you know, that stone in there. So then I waited around until I finally found this yellow sapphire, and that was it. I was like, you know, thinking of stained glass, when I think of the color yellow in stained glass, this is the color that it is. Because, you know, the stone itself is actually brighter than it is in this picture here. That kind of at the bottom part of there, you know, the whole thing is that bright canary yellow. So it really just kind of screams stained glass cathedral. And then you can see on the side there, I didn't cover the whole thing in engraving, just kind of cut the lines there. just to kind of do something different than just your standard, engraving.
Yeah,
And
it's beautiful. I love all of these.
Well,
They're
thank
great.
you. And, you can see on the shank there's just a little triangle section there. And in this picture, you can't see on the other side of the, where the point of the pear shape is, there's another triangle that I engraved with those lines. And then on the bottom of the shank, I did the same thing with those kind of slanted lines with some mill grain and stuff. So I try and design stuff like this so there's a theme running throughout the whole thing and not just cover the whole thing with engraving. Sometimes less is more.
It's very elegant the way you have it set up, I think.
Well, thank you.
Cool. So let's see what the next one is.
We're a little bit of trouble here.
We're yeah, we have to bring it down before we can go to the next picture. Maybe it doesn't want to go to the next picture.
Let me get out and get back in.
Okay.
I'll be back in a second.
I think we have maybe one more of that style, and then we have a couple of other styles. You do a whole bunch of different styles, which is very cool too. At least I'm sure you're not bored because every day it's something different.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm always trying to do something else, and that's what makes, since I do everything custom, I want to do something else. I could make more money if I just did the same thing, probably, found something that was good and just keep making that thing over and over again. But, what fun is that? I'd rather keep creating new things. So.
Okay, and this is a group of rings, which we saw the second one from the top right. That was the first one we started with. So these are a group of your work.
Yeah. So like the widest yellow gold one in there. Yeah, that one right there. That ring was actually my grandma's ring. And my wife was just making comments like, I would like a yellow gold wedding band, because all her rings were white gold at the time. So my mom was like, well, here, I got this old gold band, you can have it. So my wife started wearing it, and I'm like, well, give me that thing, I'm gonna engrave it. So that's the pattern that I came up with, and everybody loves that ring. And so of course, after I engraved it, my mom was like, well, I think I want that ring back now. Yeah. But
I want one.
My wife still
right.
has it. So.
That's very special, though. That's very, very, very special. Okay. And now, what is the metal here? Is this silver or platinum or?
That's actually stainless steel.
Stainless. Okay.
So, and that one, I've done different variations of that kind of repeating pattern there. And the first one I did it in sterling silver. And so I still have that one. It's in the case here. But, everybody who likes it, I say, this really fine engraving on sterling silver on a man's ring is not going to hold up. It's just not going to, you'll tear that up in no time at all. So I tell people like, hey, if you like that ring, let me do it in stainless steel. And as you know, engraving silver versus stainless steel, silver is so soft, it just kind of pushes the metal off. So you don't get that crisp engraving that you would with a stainless steel ring.
Okay, and then the next one is similar in that you have a repeating pattern on that. I think it's like a Celtic pattern. Is it not? Oh, okay. There we go. Yep. Is this also stainless?
Yeah, that was stainless steel too. And that's what I told the customer, like, hey, we got to do it in stainless steel because this fine engraving just won't hold up over time. So, and that was not an easy thing to do. I've never actually, you know, drawn Celtic patterns before. And so there's a engraver out there. I'm trying to think of what his name is. I want to say Tom Sterling is his name. And he actually came up with, and he does a lot of the Celtic stuff. And so he actually came up with like an ebook for how to draw it. So I got that thing, and that totally helped. It was like, and I think it was cheap. It was under $10, you know.
Well, I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, that was totally helpful in how to actually lay out the Celtic knots and how to do it. That must have
taken you a lot of time.
Yeah, it was.
Yep.
And then just trying to keep track of, okay, over, under, you know, and just trying to make sure, okay, if I go under, if I loop it around, is it going to be right here? And, you know, thankfully I got it all right. So
now, for something like this, do you draw that on paper and transfer, or did you actually lay out this particular ring on the ring itself?
That was totally laid out on the ring itself. I haven't really tried, when it comes to bands like that, trying to transfer stuff just doesn't, I mean, I don't know how well that would work, to be honest with you. So, and the way that you would design this pattern, and the way, like I said, I think it's Tom Sterling. The way he did it was basically marking it, basically starting with dots, and you start with dots, and those are all your reference points. So it's a matter of getting all those dots in the right spot, and then just kind of cutting the line here and cutting the line there, and going around these dots that you have laid out. So yeah, that was a stressful job, just because I've never done anything like that. I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. I'll figure that out.
Well, you did a beautiful job. So
yeah, I was very pleased with it. I was shocked that, be honest with you, I was shocked it came out as well as it did. So
okay. And here are some more. Now, are these both stainless as well?
So the one on the left with the scroll is sterling silver, and the one on the right is stainless steel. So
okay, yeah, because the sculpting in the stainless would be more difficult than the.
Yeah, although I have done that pattern in the stainless steel as well, and it what is definitely harder than sterling, but it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. So,
okay.
But these rings here were actually for a pair of they were 8th grade graduation gifts for 2 girls that were twins, and they were both graduating from the 8th grade. And this is what they picked out. I was like, well, you're pretty cool 8th grader to be picking out something like this for your graduation. So
yeah, wow.
and so the one on the right there, you know, is kind of like the scales there, and then with the whole geometric pattern there, you know, it's basically repeated on both sides. So you see over to the right there, you can see the little line of beadwork there, and then the other side comes around. It's the same thing, just repeated on the other side. And I like to mix those, you know, different styles.
Okay, this is very geometric too. Not necessarily repeating, but I like how very defined it is. It's very strong, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this was a man's ring.
It is a man's ring. I still have this one for sale if anybody wants to buy it. So it actually does repeat. So the 2 sides that you see here is basically just flipped on the other side.
Okay.
So
I like it. It's very different. It's striking in that you can tell right away that it's not something that everyone has.
Yeah, and that's, you know, I mean, we all know that custom jewelry costs more than buying something that's manufactured. So in my opinion, you got to make it different enough for someone to actually want it, you know, because it will cost more. And I love, geometric. I love the architectural. I love all that. There's so many different styles that I enjoy doing that, I just keep mixing it up, and then I'll just keep mixing those styles up together.
This one reminds me of Tetris.
Yeah, that's what it did to me too. Although when I first designed it, that was not in my mind. It wasn't going to look like that. In my mind, it was more of, I don't know if you know the Bauhaus house of design. I don't know if you know of that at all, but which was, for those of you out there that don't know, it was basically a German school back in probably the 20s. I think it was started in the 20s and 30s. And this was one of their themes, where it just had all of these different lines and geometric lines and squares and rectangles and all this kind of stuff. And so that was the idea that I made for this. But the more I worked with it, and I was like, you know what, it'd be cooler if I recess some of those areas and then they were oxidized, so that would really stand them off. And then it really turned into a Tetris ring more than the Bauhaus ring. So
how do you spell that? I'll look that up after.
It's Bauhaus.
Okay.
There's
I'll look it up. I don't know about it.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. And there actually is an Instagram page, Bauhaus Movement, that has a lot of design stuff, really, really neat stuff.
Okay. And this, I'm guessing, is a wallet.
Yep, that is my own personal wallet.
And it is lots of glam.
Yeah, and this is, kind of your more traditional scroll work, and all that, which, I don't typically do a lot of that type of work, just because in jewelry, it's not, you just don't do it as much as you would with, in other stuff. So, and this is a piece of aluminum, that Hellbent is the name of the company, and anything in metal, whatever it is, like, okay, I want to buy this because I can use that and then I can hand engrave it. So
that's right. You had the custom eyeglass frames once, didn't you?
Yep. I have a pair
Yeah.
of aluminum sunglasses that I hand engraved as well. So, and then my phone case, I've engraved that as well. I got a new phone, the iPhone 10, a few months ago, and of course had to buy a new case, and it's brass all around it. But of course, I haven't gotten around to engraving that yet. I finished my wallet first. So, as you know, when you run your own business, you kind of have to do stuff that makes money versus just stuff for yourself. You just fit that stuff in wherever you can.
Yep. Okay. So, and now, this is kind of in a different vein then, right? Not rings, but pendants. You have a bunch of pictures of pendants here.
Yep. So, and that one was all done, that's sterling silver with a 18 karat yellow gold bezel with an amethyst set in it. So this, I actually took a sheet of silver, cut it out with a saw, and then soldered the gold bezel on it, and basically all that kind of cut the lines for the engraving. Then it was all done sculpted, was how all that was done. Once again, more Art Deco sculpture and all that kind of stuff. So,
and is this a pendant?
That is actually a shirt stud.
A shirt stud. Wow.
Yeah. So, for those because I have told people, oh, I'm making a shirt stud, and their shirt stud, what is that? And basically think of cufflinks, but for your buttons down your shirt. So instead of having buttons, there'd just be holes down the front of your shirt, and you would there's clips on there that you stick it through the buttonholes, and then you flip it open, and then it stays on there. So, who wears those? Not very many people do.
Well,
so this
when
is,
you have your tux on.
yes. And this was, this was pretty big. It was 1.25 inch length and 7/8 of an inch wide. And that diamond was 3/4 of an inch, or 3/4 of a carat. And this was all platinum. So, and I did this the same way, where I just bought the sheet of platinum, took my saw, pierced it out, cut the shape, and then the bezel was, I just soldered on the platinum bezel and then did all the engraving. Although I did do a lot of the engraving up near the bezel, just because the bezel would have gotten in the way to get up close to it. So, with platinum, you can do that because if you take a torch to platinum, it doesn't oxidize like yellow gold would, or gold or silver would. So you can get away with stuff like that when it is platinum. But he was very happy with it.
And I think you sent a couple of pages of drawings.
Yeah, so these, right, and I think there's another set too, but you can see, you can kind of flip flop back and forth between the two. So the one on this one here, the one at the top, was the design that he picked out, but then he's like, you know what, I want it longer than that. So I elongated the design, but this is all done on the iPad. So if you have an iPad, or if you don't have an iPad, it's a great tool. The Procreate app is what I use to do this. So you can actually draw the shape, the outline of the shield, and then you can go in and create another layer and just go in and start drawing all these different shapes. So now I don't have to draw from start to finish the whole thing. Each individual one, it's just a matter of filling in. Like you can see here, the top and the bottom are both the same outline. It's just, let me change stuff up. And, it's just a great tool to lay out your engraving patterns or designs, whatever it is. And that's kind of, one of the ways that's helpful for me is just to keep changing and doing different things. When you are constantly looking for a new pattern. But I will say this, it takes more time when you come up with a new pattern. Like, okay, how am I going to do this? How is this going to be laid out? What's it going to look like once it's done? What kind of metal is it on? Is the surface curved? Is it flat? I mean, all those things really have an impact on what it looks like once it's all finished. So, with, like, say, for example, like that one big yellow gold ring, we were going to do it all in yellow. Well, the yellow sapphire the yellow diamond just totally disappeared in that. So, it still is like, I hope this turns out okay, because you're always doing something new. You're creating a new pattern. And like, how is the light going to reflect on this? Is it going to look good? Is it going to look bad? Is it, and I just finished a ring yesterday and delivered it yesterday, which I didn't send you guys a photo of it, but it is on my Instagram or Facebook page. And, when I engraved that thing, I made the ring, and there's empty spaces on the ring where it's kind of filigree work. And then there's engraving. And when you look at it from a certain way, because of the bright cut engraving, it actually looks like there's no metal there, because the light isn't reflecting back at you. It's reflecting off it. It's not catching any reflection, any light, because it's kind of at an angle from the side. So it really, gave the whole thing a new look, because it looked like it was more pierced and open when it wasn't. But when you turned the ring to the side and you looked at it straight on, then it was bright cut. So, all these different types of things has an impact on how the piece ends up looking in the end. But, you don't know what it's going to look like till you're done sometimes.
Right. Okay. And this collection, what is this in? Base metal is silver?
Yeah, it's oxidized sterling silver, and then rose gold, and then the rose there, the petals were rose gold, but then the kind of rope around it and the leaves are all done in yellow gold. And that's all, every bit of that was done like with a sheet of rose gold, like kind of sketching out that design on the sheet, and then going in with the little saw and cutting it all out, and then going in and cutting all the lines. And some of that is, I cut with the, a 90-degree graver, and then some of it is sculpted. So it's just a mix of different techniques to use, for that, which both the rings on the bottom are, as you can possibly see, that it's a kind of a tattoo type theme, very tattoo style. And of course, both of those were bought by tattoo artists. So with having the tattoo parlor 2 doors down, helps to be able to make stuff like that. So.
Okay. And this is a bracelet and a pendant?
Yep. That is correct. So the bracelet here, this is all sterling silver, although the necklace here, the head, you can't really see it very well because of just the light in there, but that's actually mammoth ivory that I actually carved to have, have the scales on it and everything like the sterling silver one is. And then in the head, I inlaid yellow sapphires and inlaid some thin yellow gold sheet in there, and that I actually did cut it out and hammered the metal over and set it like a stone would. But for this, the bracelet here, I did that all with the pulse graver. And what was so good about the pulse graver doing this is because of the bracelet is, you can see, well, you can't see that great, but you can kind of see the pattern of the scales on there is, goes around this round surface here. So there's no way to really hold that and engrave those lines in it, because it's such a tight curve, and and a long stroke. So with the pulse graver, that made it so well, like on the C setting, like it really has that hammer punch where it, does that. I was actually able to hold that with my hand and cut those big cuts while holding it in your hand because of that power that the pulse graver has. And that's why I love, that machine so much, because it allows me to do that. Because I did switch to the B setting and tried to do with that, and you don't have that powerful hit. There's too much, any type of, as when you're trying to hammer something, any type of vibration, if something moves as you're doing it, it loses the impact. So that's what was so great about the C setting on the pulse graver, is actually getting that hammer hit and being able to cut these big, and you can tell, since this is a bracelet, those are big cuts. It's all done with a flat graver as well. So,
well, yeah, it's good that you had the control over that tight curve too.
Yeah, and I mean, in this picture, you can't see it well. I mean, they're not totally perfect, cuts. Some of them weren't as good as others, but when you're looking at the whole thing, it this whole pattern of scales, I mean, nature isn't perfect anyway, so it still looked great.
Cool. I'm glad that's working for you. And then I think we have one more.
Yeah. So, this one here was a cuff bracelet. And like the center part was 18 karat yellow gold. And with that one is more, again, the kind of architectural stained glass, and really mixing textures, mixing styles, around that center there. you can see the kind of like arrowhead shapes. So there's
zoom in
the
on
bright cut
center part.
So you can see on the edges there's the bright cut kind of pyramid shapes, and then that kind of arrowhead shape, all that is just flat, and I didn't engrave that. That's satin finish. So, and then the little triangle shapes there were all bright cut, and then the kind of the center there is one big beading tool that I use to make that bead, and then it's kind of satin finish around there as well, and then doing the mill grain around it as well. So it's just mixing the different styles and the textures just makes those bright cuts really pop if you can put some satin finish around it as well. And then around that, where the kind of like the curves, that was all done with bright cutting as well, but it's just basically my own bright cut rounded graver. Basically, I just kind of made my own shape, and so it's a very shallow rounded graver, and I'm doing that all in carbide as well. So, and then the rest of that bracelet, doing the mill grain and all that, doing the different textures, this look just is great with the oxidized silver, because as you wear it, the oxidization wears off and just has more and more character to it, because you can see on here, these little kind of lines and cracks. They're not cracks, but they look like little cracks. So as you wear it, the recess areas will stay dark. So it's just more sculpting and just more, mixing those textures of kind of that ancient look, but yet bringing new bright cut, architectural, just bringing it all together.
Nice. Yeah, we would love to have a shop tour, but before we get to that, do you have a favorite graver or geometry that you use most of the time?
I would say I probably use a flat graver a lot. So if I do like your half wheat or your wheat pattern, like I typically always do that with the flat graver. And I typically do a double cut, what I call a double cut, I guess. I was out at taking Diane Scalise class, and she was the one that showed me like take the flat graver and do all this stuff. So a lot of my flat graver cutting, I kind of owe to her, and she comments on my Instagram page, like, wow, this is amazing and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, well, just so you know, I took your class, and I, this all comes from you, just to give you some credit here. Taking your class is what kind of made me, use the flat graver more and really go down this, the whole bright cutting direction of design. But and I use the 90 a lot too. I typically don't use a 120 too often. Sometimes, depending on what I'm doing, obviously, sometimes it will. But I kind of make up my own, stuff too, like the rounded one, like just making my own thing, and have always done that, where I've made my own tools, not necessarily just for engraving, but just for texture as well. Hammering, any type of texture, you can make your own tool and just do that pattern. And that's what's great about, having the end sharp and having all those diamond wheels to be able to custom make your own tools. If you're not making your own tools, you should be. Let's just say that.
Okay, great. So can we have a quick shop tour of your store and
Sure.
kind of creative area there?
All right. So I'm going to flip the camera here so I can see what you're looking here, and let me make sure I know what I'm doing here. Here we go. All right. So that is my bench area there. I'm actually right now on my bench. I'm doing one of those. It's probably not very, a rose gold band right there. Same style of that architectural Art Deco style, custom for somebody. And then there's my, my microscope. And over here,
your exceptionally clean bench top.
yes, yeah. Don't judge me for I know where everything is. You can ask me, where is this tool? I can tell you exactly where it's at, and it will be there. But it's just
I see a creative mind.
So then I have my pulse graver down there, and my flexia, not my flexia shaft, that's my micromotor there. So this bench over here was my is actually a watchmaker's bench, but that bench was my grandfather. So when my grandfather passed away, my dad flew out to California and boxed everything up and shipped it, went on a crate and all that kind of stuff on a pallet and shipped it all here. So I don't even know how old this bench is. It's pretty old. So and then over here I have kind of like a big workbench here with my anvil and vise and kind of forming tools up there. And this is my polisher, which actually was my grandfather's as well. So, I mean, I don't know how old that thing is, but, I've been using it for over 20 years. So, and then up here, there's just literally hundreds of projects that I've started and haven't finished. So, because that's just the way I am with my mind. And so here, my cleaning section and my end sharp there to sharpen my graver. So, so this is my view from sitting at my bench, which, I'm in downtown Greensboro, so I can see, the downtown buildings out the window here. This space is just amazing. I love you can kind of see the old walls in here, and I'll just show this real quick. So this building right here, which I have a poster of it, is actually the building that I'm in. I'm in the spot right to the right of it. And so that picture was taken in 1927. So this building that I'm in is over 100 years old. And it actually used to be the General Green Hotel. So, and then my laser welder there. And then of course I have jewelry in the cases here. And, this is a lot of the stuff that my dad has made. I kind of, like I said, I tell him what to do and he does it. And then I have a little kind of seating area here. And this is kind of like that Bauhaus style that I was talking about, where all the different lines and stuff. So I actually found that at a vintage store and said, okay, I got to have that. So, and then over here is my casting equipment. So I cast it right here. So, at night I have a burnout oven. That's my burnout oven. I have a timer that's over there. So I have a ventless hood up here. So I carve my waxes, I sprue them all up and do all that stuff, put in the oven. I have a timer and it starts, typically I make it start about 5 o'clock in the morning. So by the time I come in here, by 10 o'clock, they're ready to be cast. So, when I am casting, either I have my wife comes in here and helps me, or, my dad comes in and helps. So just to help get them out while I'm heating up the metal. And, there's some other cases, and I just love the old bricks in here and all that kind of stuff. So, that's about it from my shop. And then, I got the big safe back there too. So, but
it's such a nice and light space to work in.
Yes,
you got a lot of light and everything.
I love the light. I love the open space. So you know, I think there are 12-foot ceilings in here. So, you know, that's pretty awesome. And all the light, you know, we have plants in here and they love the light here as well. So that's always good because my wife loves the plants. So,
Okay.
so there you go.
Is there anything else that we should know about you and the business here or your work?
Well, I would say, I guess, you know, not necessarily anything about me per se, but maybe words of advice to other people, you know, is, you know, pursue, you know, doing something unique and different, you know, that why do the same thing over and over again? I know there are some people like this is what they do. This is the only thing that new. Not everyone's, you know, super creative. They're more of a, you know, a hands, like I work with my hands and this is what I do. The creative part's not really there, I guess, but, you know, I can't wait to get to work every morning. You know, I don't work, you know, the store is open Tuesday through Saturday, or yeah, Tuesday through Saturday. So I don't work Sundays at all. But Mondays I will come in and I will work, you know, at some point during the day. So this past Sunday, I woke up and I'm like thinking it was Saturday. And then I was disappointed because I don't get to go to work today. So, you know, that's just the way I love what I do. And, you know, if jewelry making or engraving is something that you know are into, and you know you're not at quite the level that you want to be at, just go for it. You know, you got to keep working and keep doing it. Get the right tools, you know, is first of all, which the pulse graver, I'll just throw another thing out there. I love the pulse graver. If you don't have one, get one. It's awesome. Oh, that was the other thing I did want to say. The pulse graver is amazing for stone setting. I love it. You know, the first stone that I set with the pulse graver, I probably should have done something else, but I didn't. I set a 50 carat marquee shaped blue topaz with it. And I was like, yeah, I'm probably not gonna be able to replace this one so easily, but I just did it anyway. And it was awesome. I mean, I was like, wow, this thing just works spectacularly for stone setting, for the bezel setting, because it just is so powerful and it can just move that metal over. So,
wow, no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all. So, and I haven't, you know, I've been using it, about a year now, I guess. Yeah.
Pretty close. Yeah.
Almost close to a year. I haven't broken a stone yet. So, of course I didn't really break stones before then either, but you know, once again, I can't say enough positive things about it with the stone setting. It really works great. And for all you other jewelers out there who maybe have the pulse graver or don't have it, whatever, I just thought I'd throw this little kind of advice out there for it. So when I do the stone setting, I put it in the C, whatever category or setting, the C setting. So I do that. I bump up the power all the way to the top, and then I turn the speed all the way down to 15, as low as it will go. So when you do that, and then you can work your pedal, and you can pretty much just guarantee, because you've slowed it all the way down, you can pretty much guarantee that you just do one hit. So you're never really going to need, with that much power, you don't need it to be going, you know, the 40, the speed of 40. You can just slow that thing down and you'll just see it, you know, and I do all my stone setting under the scope as well. So you'll just see that metal just, you know, moving over. You move it. And the cleanup is a breeze afterward. Like, it just really works phenomenal. And you can, like I said, just really move heavy metal, because the way I make stuff, I typically do very heavy bezels, and there's a lot of metal that's moving around. And so just stylistically for what I do, it has been amazing. So anyways, I'll stop doing a commercial for you.
Well, I'm glad it's working so well for you. I'm really glad.
I mean, there are things that I have that have made, what I do a whole lot easier because of the Pulse Graver, which, I would just be struggling with other stuff. And, I've actually used in the past, like a regular, like whatever, 2-pound ball peen hammer, and just with the like a steel, I'm drawing
Like
a blank
punch?
here. Punch, yes.
Like a punch?
Thank you. And just whacking the crap out of stuff, trying to get these heavy, prongs down or heavy bezels down, over top of stuff, because they are so big and so heavy. So it is pretty awesome in that regard of just being able to get the stuff done. And with, as you saw, I do a lot of that really wide bright cutting. So, when you're removing that much metal, it takes a lot of power to actually do it. And so it's just been helpful in able to be more efficient, instead of like going in and cutting a thin layer, and cutting a thin layer, trying to get all that bright cutting that I want done, this big area cut. I can just go in with, one big thick cut, and you'd be shocked at the thickness of the, what are those little things called? I forgot. They're
the chips?
Yes, the chips. The technical term of chips. They're humongous, when I'm doing this stuff. So like with that snake bracelet, like they were humongous chips, that I'm just cutting away with that. So, that's all
good.
I got. So
Good. Now, if there are hundreds of customers that want to come and see you, how would they get in touch with you or your shop, your Instagram, your Facebook? Give us all the ways to get in touch with you.
Okay, my website is jacobraymondjewelry.com. My Facebook page is Jacob Raymond Custom Jewelry. But, if you just do Jacob Raymond Jewelry, it should pop up. But my Instagram is Jacob Raymond Jewelry as well. And then, of course, my email is the same, jacobraymondjewelry@gmail.com. So, and I'm always open for doing unique and one-of-a-kind stuff. So, and I'm always willing to help other people. So, if you like, hey, you have a question of something that you said today, contact me. I'm more than willing to, give anybody any type of advice or answer any questions.
Very cool. And hopefully we will see each other again at an engraving in the future.
Yes. Hopefully we'll get through all this and be able to see people again,
Right.
Be able to travel. So.
Okay. And to get in touch with me, it's Tira@engraver.com. Instagram is Tira. At Pulsegraver, or Tira.Mitchell. I have an Instagram for that as well. And Facebook is engraver.com. Okay, I think I got them all. Well, thank you, Jake. And I hope you have a wonderful week.
Well, you too. And I think we hit it right on the dot. I think it's 3:00. So great timing.
All right. Well, thank you for letting us in to see your world. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.